Dear students, in the previous video, we learnt about introduction to light. We see the objects because of the light reflects from them. Some objects like sun, fluorescent bulb and the candle. Sun, fluorescent bulb and the candle. These are the objects which emit their own light, which have the capacity to generate their own light. Such kinds of objects are called as luminous object. You already learnt about this. Many objects around us are non-luminous, just opposite to the luminous. They cannot generate their own light, but these objects reflects the incident ray, which enables us to see the non-luminous objects. Yes, the wood, the wall, then the objects which are made up of the cotton. These are kinds of non-luminous objects. Yes, the question is, in which direction do the light emit? Yes, they emit the light in all possible direction. These are the objects which emits the light in all the possible direction. Yes, consider the fluorescent bulb. Observe it. Is the light emitting in all the possible direction? Just observe. Is that going in a single direction? No, it emits the light in all the possible direction. Let us denote each direction with a straight line and arrow on it. These arrows on a straight line pointing that the direction in which the light ray moves, or the light ray traveling from the fluorescent bulb. Yes, these arrows, which we call it as the rays of light. This straight line we call it as the rays of light. A ray of light is simply, it is a straight line path along which the light travels. It's a straight line path along which the light travels. Yes, thereby we can say that light emitted by the luminous objects traveling in all the possible direction. Just observe here. Suppose a ray from a light fluorescent bulb falls on the surface. If it is a non-luminous, reflects this light. These reflected rays travel along a certain path. Isn't it? Consider the plane surface. Suppose one of the plane surface, if a rays of light falls on that surface and strikes at this point, the ray from the source of light, we called it as the incident ray. After striking this, it will get reflected in one direction. It will get reflected in one direction, called it as the reflected ray. Just think, only in this, why only in this direction? Why not here and why not here? Yeah, this is because rays of light obeys a certain laws of reflection. Now I am going to draw a perpendicular line to the surface at the point of incidence. This line is called as the normal. This line we called it as the normal, which is perpendicular to the surface. Here is the two laws of reflection that obeyed by every kind of rays. In that, to understand the first law, first we need to know what is the angle of incidence and angle of reflection. The first law states that angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. Now the question is, what is angle of incidence? Angle of incidence is nothing but angle made by the incident ray with the normal. Angle made by the incident ray with the normal. Then what do you mean by angle of reflection? Angle made by the reflected ray with the normal. This is represented by R, and angle of incidence is represented by the small letter I. Yes. What does the first law states? First law states that angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. So we can say that I is equal to R. Yeah. So as per this, angle made by I is always same as the angle made by the reflected ray, that is R. If I move the incident ray to some direction, if I want to change the angle of the incident ray to something else, okay, what happens to the reflected ray? just the angle of reflected ray also changes. So by this we can say that I is always equal to the r. Angle of reflected ray is always depends upon the angle in which incident ray is made with the normal. Okay, clear? Now the second law states that the incident ray, the normal at the point of incidence, and the reflected ray all lie on the same plane. Yes. For example, if the reflected ray is in this direction, observe this diagram, the incident ray is in this direction instead of this. Okay. So the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray are all lie on the same plane. Thereby the second law of laws of reflection.